Good morning. The sun is shining here in Ireland and it's absolutely beautiful. What seldom is wonderful. Today we're going to make these little apple boxes or storage boxes, perfect for a shop or a bakery. These are not quite to scale, these rolls, but I just put them in to give you an idea of what you can use them for. These ones here, I want to use as storage under a bed for little bits and pieces that I've made. This is what your layout is going to look like. And out of this you will get two. You'll be able to make two of these. Your files are going to come in DXF, Vector, PDF and SVG. Your file will actually come in an A4 layout. I only work in A4 because most of my paper and scrap papers and card stocks are all A4, and I figure a lot of people out there are pretty much the same. Oh, you can resize these if you feel they're too big or you want them bigger, Barbie size. These are 1/12 scale. But you can go a little smaller if you want them smaller. All you have to do is group everything together in your program and size the whole lot up or down. You can go much bigger. If you do go bigger, you'll probably have to add extra pieces. I'm going to show you this now. This is your template guide. It's vitally important you learn to use these so you can go along with me on making them up. You just print it off and use it. Put it away in an envelope or a folder somewhere so it's there when you want to use it again. We'll get started. All you do is you count out your pieces and put them onto the template guide. And if you look, you won't go wrong because they fit perfectly. Every single little piece, even if it's just the tiniest difference in a size, the particular parts will fit perfectly, so you will not go wrong. Just sort them out onto your pieces. Now I have some of these glued down already because I don't want to keep the video too long and boring. So basically, sort out your pieces and the amount. Each piece has five layers in this. It's very simple, very easy. Get these out of the way and get my glue. I'm just using simple PVA glue. And my ruler is missing. Sorry now, I'll grab your ruler. Clumping across the office. Yeah, so what you do is whatever piece you're working on, take it off the guide and put it there, and you won't go wrong. You won't lose count, which I have done several times. What happens is if you put too many pieces on one side and not on the other, in this one it won't really make much of a difference, but on the bigger pieces of furniture it will. You'll make something lopsided or something won't fit right. Now all I'm doing is applying enough glue to stick. You don't want too much glue on it, but you want enough that it will stick. I'm just layering it up and checking and trying my best to keep it as even as possible. This is an old ruler I use. I used to use my Cricut scraper and it went missing on me. I don't know where it's gone, but this is as good. You can use anything plasticky, you know those small paint scrapers. Just don't use anything metal or you will put marks and scars into your card and it'll show up then when you're painting. I'm just applying enough that it will stick. You don't want to completely saturate it. I have a little tea towel offside here that I wipe my fingers in between gluing. You can see, just trying to keep it as even as possible. And I'm putting a good bit of pressure on this now. You go kind of as hard as you can. With this process, you might look and say, oh my God, that's very tedious. It's not. It really is, and I find it very therapeutic. What I do normally, if I'm designing pieces and making pieces up, I will spend a Sunday evening sitting at the table in the dining room, watching a bit of Netflix or whatever's going on the TV, and just work away and do a few pieces, and then I leave them to dry for the next day or the next couple of days. And it really is that simple. I have huge big pieces of furniture there with lots of different components to it. And when you see them at first, you're going to think, oh my gosh, no, that's a bit too much like hard work. I can put them together, glue all the pieces together within an hour. I'll show you some examples in a few minutes. Within an hour, half an hour, depending on how big the file is, or if there's a few pieces of furniture in the one file. And then just leave them to dry. Now, I have a little pokey tool here that I use. You see the way, if you can see the glue is caught in there, try your best to get it out. Let's put that there for a minute. Yeah, just try your best to keep the glue. It'll be a big help to you when you're painting. Now, this one, I'm only going to glue 3 pieces, but I just want to give you the general idea, especially because there's a lot of little pieces in this one piece, if you know what I mean, all the gaps and things. It's not as hard as you think it might be. It's actually very easy, very simple. Again, just applying enough glue. And your edges are the most important thing in this. Make sure you get your edges. I always use my fingers to glue because I find it much better, because you can feel exactly how much glue is going on, and it's quicker. It's much faster. I'm dabbing rather than catching too much glue in between the grooves. Yeah, I came about doing this sort of furniture. I have a doll's house belonging to my 30-year-old daughter, and it is in tatters and ruin. It has been well loved and well played with. And I wanted to do it up for the grandchildren. And I was buying in furniture from China and all sorts of places. And I just wasn't happy. The furniture was too chunky, or it was very cheap. It was falling apart. And then I was worried about, I'm sorry now, but I was worried about what kind of paint or glue was used on them. Can I let my grandchildren play with these, you know? So I decided to try making my own. I used to make, because I'm a graphics designer, I used to make a lot of wedding invitations in the past. And I had a wedding, a big wedding, and it was cancelled. So I had literally hundreds of sheets of A4 cardstock, 300 GSM A4 cardstock. And it was lying there for a couple of years, and I thought, I have to use it up. What am I going to do? So I decided, okay, well, we'll give it a go doing it this way. And the very first thing I made was a whatnot shelf, which I have a tutorial for that as well. It'll be coming up soon. And it went on from there. It became an obsession. Sure, the doll's house is barely touched. There's lots of furniture for it, but it's barely touched. But I do intend to do a little video series on me fixing it up and the processes I go through, and design and end things as well. Not yet though, that'll be in a few weeks' time. I'll start on that. Now this is a big piece. I am just literally putting enough that it'll stick, and I'm making sure to get my edges. It looks like I'm putting loads on, but I'm not. You don't want to be putting too much on because you'll stretch out your card, and plus it'll take longer to dry out. Now, my ruler needs a good cleaning. I'll do that for the next bit. I'm putting a lot of pressure on. You see that? Yeah, did you do? Yeah. The sun is just beaming. I think, I don't know if you can actually see how bright it is here. It's great. If anyone knows Irish weather, you'll know we really worship the sun when we get it. We go bananas. Now today is a perfect day. Now this afternoon, when the sun kind of moves away from the garden a little bit, I will get out there and I'll get stuck in. I have a lot of pruning to do. So once again, I'm just putting a slathering on that I know it'll stick and it's not too wet. And what happens as well is if you put too much glue on, they slide everywhere. They'll slide out of position. And glue oozes out the edges and it's messy. I forgot my packet of baby wipes for wiping off excess glue. I'll grab them in a few minutes. The less glue you can get showing up, if as soon as you see, when you have your, I'll show you now, sorry, I'm all tongue-tied. When you get all this together, this is the last one on this, and if you see bits of glue, what's going on? It's very powdery or something. If you see bits of glue, just very gently try to get it off, because it's a bugger when you're trying to paint. Now, once you have all your pieces glued, all that's left to do is throw a heavy weight onto them and leave them to dry. Now, I'm going to tell you, these small pieces, you'll get away with it a couple of hours, depending on where you live in the world. Ireland is very damp and humid at times, so I would leave them for 3 to 4 hours. On these small pieces, it's fine, but if it were the bigger pieces of furniture, like this one here, you would have to leave it overnight, 24 hours at least. It needs to be bone dry before you can work with it, because if not, this would warp when you're trying to put it together. This one here as well. So I shall be back in a short while when they're dried out. Now it's after being about, I would say, an hour and a half. It's a scorcher of a day here. The sun is just beaming through the window. They feel good enough to me. Again, it depends on where you live and what time of the year it is. You know, just to be safe, I would say at least 3 hours. And if you're going to make a few of these up, if you're going to sell them or gift them, leave them overnight. You can't go wrong then. So you just put them back on. I know this is just a small project, but just to go along with me so there's no confusion, or you will get the gist of what way my files work. Put them back in their places, respective places. Now look, you see they fit perfect. There's no difference at all. So you will not go wrong. Now we're going to start with the base and the box ends. I mean, they're very simple. You probably figure this out anyway without even me showing you, but it just to get used to, if you're interested in my files and you learn to love them, just get used to the process and the way I do them for now, until you can get your own way of doing things. But I will tell you this, if I haven't made something in a while, I have to use the template guide, because I sometimes forget and I get confused. So you're better off getting used to using them. I have my wipe for my glue. Now all you're going to do is literally nudge this up here to this and make it as even. I hope I'm in the right position. Make it as even as possible on the ends. I'm nudging up with my nail. Now that you can straighten that up in a little while with when we're putting the other sides on. The main objective now is just to get them on and get them as even as possible, and just leave them to settle. I'm just going to move it because I know glue has come out of the end. I don't want them sticking. Now ideally you're better off working on a few of these at the same time. I have tons more of these somewhere. I think at one stage I was working on six or 8 of them at the one time. I was putting them on here, moving them, you know, and just getting them all made, and then I put them all underneath, all together underneath a big heavy book and left them overnight, and then the next day I made them up when I was making my samples and what have you. Oh, incidentally, I meant to tell you, these look and feel exactly like wood. They are solid. There is no one in the world going to know that they are made of 300 GSM cardstock. One sheet makes 2 of these. Now, I'm feeling that's okay now. Just making sure they're even on the edges. So we're going to grab our box sides. You just need a dab of glue, get some glue. You can be a little bit generous with the glue and then just wipe off the excess. And a bit on the edges. We're not going on the sides or the backs, we're just going on the edges. Yeah, I might have a bit too much there, but sure, look, I can wipe it off. I'm going to just clip that up into position, making sure it's even. Now, see how that fits in? Now I'm just going to move it gently a little bit and make sure it's not sticking to the bottom or sticking to my mat. What am I saying? Now, there's no right or wrong side to these. There's no upside down, or I made them like that deliberately to make life easy for putting them together. Pretty much all of my files are made with that, in that mindset. Going to turn that around so you can see. I'm just going to clock it up at the edge, put that into position. Now we have our box made. I'm going to look on the bottom, make sure it's all flat, and just wipe away. If you're using wet wipes, don't saturate, just very barely touch it to get any glue off. Now I have glue. Oh, this is a tool I discovered. I bought my granddaughter a nail care set, or whatever you call it, a gel set. And these tools were, I forgot to give it to her. It was part of her Christmas present. And I found the set and I went, oh, that's interesting. It's a silicone sort of a top. It looks like a paintbrush, but it's absolutely brilliant for taking out excess glue. So she's not getting it. I'll get her another set maybe for next Christmas. There's actually a few different tools. I'll root them out and show you them. They're absolutely brilliant, especially for making this type of furniture. Now all I'm doing is just making sure everything is straight while we can still manipulate things a little. There we go. And you just leave it to dry. Now I want to show you if you look, I hope I have this in the right position and it's going to focus. Do you see the little lines where the card is all compressed? Well, we're going to get rid of that. If you can see on this one, it's nice and smooth. you just get your PVA glue. Now I'm holding this very gently because it's still wet. You get your PVA glue, put a good dab on your finger. And what you're basically doing is doming it over the top of it, or anywhere you see the compressed paper. Don't be afraid of it, because you can wipe off the excess. A nice big dome. I hope you can see how domed that is. And this process is brilliant because that glue is going to dry flat. Sometimes it dries see-through. More times than many it will dry clear. And it still looks like the grooves and the lines are still there, but they're not. When you paint them, you don't see them at all, and it's lovely and smooth. We're just making a nice globby dome. Don't be stingy with the glue and don't be afraid of it. You're setting out to cover all those grooves. Now what I'll do is I'll just rub my finger along the edges if any is overflown. I've just got one more edge to do. This will take, again, depending on where you live, this will take an hour, maybe a couple of hours to dry. You'll know it's dry because you can touch it. It's gone flat and you can touch it. And the more you do these, the more you get used to it. You become a pro. You'll know exactly what's going to work, and I am happy with that. You can see already how smooth it's going to be. Now all that's left to do is to leave that to dry. Again, I'm just using PVA glue. Don't use wood glue. Wood glue is brilliant for all sorts of other things, but it does not work with these, because wood glue, especially if you're doing this part, wood glue dries like plastic and it doesn't go as flat as ordinary PVA glue. It kind of stays raised and you run the risk of having lumps and bumps, and it's impossible to do anything with. So wood glue for this type of furniture making is a no-no. Now I shall be back when that's dry and we'll go on to painting. Now I think that's dry. It's been about an hour and a half. Yeah, it's bone dry. Now a little discussion about glue and varnish. This is the glue I'm using. It's just a cheapy glue. Where did I buy this? In Ireland we have a store called Mr. Price. When I bought it there, it was cheap. I think it was £3. It's okay. It does the job. But realistically, what would be the best thing for you is a nice tacky glue. I remember Anita's tacky glue. We can't seem to get it here in Ireland. If anyone knows where I can get it, it'd be fine. I know it's on Amazon, but for some reason or another, it says I can't deliver to Ireland, so I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, this is the glue I'm using. It's just a cheap PVA glue. And it works. Now, it works well, but it's a bit of a pain when you're trying to put things together, especially for me when I'm doing a video tutorial. It takes a while for it to adhere and get tacky. Now, again, water-based glue is very important. Everything you use on this style of making furniture has to be water-based. This is my varnish that I use. I bought this 4 years ago, I think, on Amazon, and it is brilliant. I swear by it. It's non-yellowing, it's water-based, and it's quick drying, which is better again. It's matte finish, but it does have a slight sheen on it when it dries. I don't know, can you see that sheen? And I think it's well suited to furniture. I don't know if they do this in gloss. I must look it up. I hope that company is still there. They're a family-run company in the UK, and it's always great to support a family-run company. Again, I got it on Amazon, and if you want to look it up, go ahead. I'm not affiliated to them. I'm not sponsored or anything like that. I really love the product, and I'll swear by it. let me see this one here. I made this before COVID. Just actually, this is more than 4 years old because I bought this just before COVID. Yeah, I did actually, yeah. Now, this was made then and it has not changed colour. Nothing. It's brilliant, which means when you make your furniture, you're making an heirloom piece of furniture that can be passed down generations. This has withstood my grandchildren. my younger little toddler grandchildren, and if that survives them, it'll survive anything. But yeah, so I swear by this. If you cannot get this, make sure it's non-yellowing and water-based varnish. I couldn't get it out. I was going to say glue. I said better not say glue, but varnish. Paints. I am a devil for buying these sample pots, and every so often there's new colours come out and I get all excited. They're brilliant. Buy them whenever you can, and they keep for a very long time, just as long as you give them a good mix and stir before you use them. You can use any water-based paint at all. I have the paint I'm going to use today. This is actually satinwood, water-based satinwood paint that you would use on, you know, your doors and different pieces of wood furniture, and it's brilliant. You could actually add watercolours to that or acrylic paints to that and mix your own colours if you buy a tin of it and put it into little pots like this. As long as it's water-based, you're good to go. So we'll go. Oh, where's my little thingy I use for my varnish? Oh, little thingy, where are you? No, I'll have to use this one here. I'll use this. This is just an old lid. Oh, there's my little thingy. You only need a minuscule amount of varnish. I've already given this a good shake. Now, I have this years and it's still half full. And I've made a lot of, oh, that's too much, but look. I'll use it up on something else because I have a few bits to finish off. Sloppy me. Now, I am going to say you need a brush that's in kind of good condition. Now, don't use your good watercolor brushes or really expensive brushes. Go buy some cheap ones in your you know, your dollar stores or whatever, or your pound shops. But it needs to be reasonably good, you know, soft. So unusual enough, I'm going to varnish first. What this is doing is it's going to seal the card. Get in all the little orifice. It's going to seal it and kind of, I won't say 100% waterproof, but it's going to stop any damp getting in and destroying it. And it gives a good foundation for your paint. Just get into every little orifice, blob it on, and then you can go around later on and smooth it out. Now this is really quick drying. In 10-15 minutes this will be touch dry and ready to paint. Oh, actually, can you see where the glue dried? Remember we did the dome and it looks like the grooves are still there, but they're not. When this is painted, you will see it'll be lovely and smooth, hopefully. And if the parts of it aren't, you can redo it again. After your first coat of paint, you will know if you need to redo it again. Now, I'm just literally being sloppy here and getting my fingers messy, but that's okay. I'm getting into every little nook and cranny. And then what I do is then I look and see, did I miss any spots first of all? Clean off my brush a little and then I just smooth it out. And here as well. That's it. Now this is damp, so don't squeeze it, don't squash it. This has gone damp now because that glue is literally soaking in there, and it's brilliant. In about 5-10 minutes, that's actually nearly dry there. Look, you can see where it's drying out already. That's because the weather is so good here now. Today it's great, the sun is shining, yay. Yeah, for us Irish it's great. we go crazy on a nice sunny day. I'm hearing a buzzy noise around me. I have all my windows open and I just hope it's not a wasp. I'm one of these people who just does not like wasps at all. I don't mind bees, it's wasps. So we'll just leave that to dry. And is there anything else to chat about while we're... Yeah, paints, to get back to paints. This is a satinwood paint. I haven't added anything to it or anything. Yeah, it's satin. I'm just making sure it's the paint. Have I got the right tub? I've that many tubs. I should really have it marked. Now, when if you're using this particular paint, you will have to give it 2 coats. There's no ifs, buts or ands about it. It just doesn't go on as easy. You definitely need 2 coats, sometimes 3, depending on the size of the piece of furniture. I'm going to pause for a second because I see a wasp. I'll be back in a second. Okay, I've just had a full-on battle with a wasp pushing it out the window. Anyway, let's see if this is dry yet. Yep, this is dry. That's literally been about 5 minutes. It took me that length of time to battle with the wasp. So yeah, we're going to use this white paint. This paint, isn't it? I'm just making sure it's not glue. Yes, it is the white paint. Now, we're just going to apply. You can barely even see it going on there. A nice coat. Now, this is actually colouring it. It doesn't look it on the camera, but on the second, sorry. So sorry about that. I had to close the window. It was the attack of the wasps. The wasps are like the Irish. They hide all summer long until the sun comes out. Yeah, Irish wasps anyway. So what I'm doing is, again, I'm just getting into every orifice with the paint and going back over then to smooth it out. I'm sure, look, if you're used to making miniatures, I don't have to tell you how to paint. But just for the purpose of the tutorial, we'll give it at least 1 coat together. I'm going to show you in a few minutes. I've been playing around with this paint, and what I wanted a nice chalky paint finish because I ran out of chalky paint. I upcycle a lot of furniture, but I have ran out of chalky paint, so I added a spoonful, not to this one now, but I have played around and added a spoonful of talcum powder. Ordinary talcum powder into it and played around with the consistency, and it really works. It's just like chalky paint and it covers very well. I'll show you now in a second. It does though make your furniture a little bit thicker. Now I'm rushing this. You would take your time and go nice and easy. Make sure you get in all your little orifices. And if you remember earlier on, I told you about the little pokey tool. You can use your pokey tool to get out any excess paint. But like that, just take your time, and yeah, this is definitely going to need 2 coats of this paint. At this stage now, it looks messy, and as long as you keep it as smooth as you can, it looks a little messy. But when this paint fully cures, it tightens in along with the varnish underneath. It's just amazing what happens. Yeah. Just going to do the back. I know I didn't do this side. And as I said already, you'll take your time and you'll do it nice and neat. If it's been lying in a tin for a while, add a tiny drop of water. Just a tiniest little drop, just to make it smoother. Now that looks a bit lumpy and bumpy there, but that will dry out smooth. Get into every little crevice. And then you can go around smoothing it off. There's little bits of glue on the back of this. This is why it's important to try your best to keep it clean. When after you're finished gluing down, just take a little check around and wipe it very gently with a wet wipe. Now I'm going to leave that aside to dry. That's your first coat. Now what I would do, because there's a coat of varnish underneath that, I would leave that overnight. Just leave it. This is why I'm always saying work on a few pieces at a time, you know. But leave that overnight to dry, so it gives it a good chance to cure before you put the next coat on. Now here's one here with 2 coats. Now this is what I was talking about, the chalky paint. I don't know, it makes it thicker. It definitely does make it thicker. Like if you look at the thinness, there's a difference. Now they're made up the exact same amount and the exact same layers of card. It could be a good thing, you know, it depends. I might have got away with 1 coat. It was just me playing around. Now all that's left to do is to go back in with your varnish. This is the second coat, and this has been left, it's actually been left for a few days if I were to be honest, but this is, hypothetically, this has been left for 24 hours or more. Doesn't matter, as long as you give it a good chance to cure. Now this is where the magic happens. You're putting your last coat of varnish on, again getting into all the grooves. I'm rushing, you would take your time. Just getting into all the grooves. I'm holding it by the corners. I'm getting my hands rather messy. I had to put a plaster on. I forgot to put my plaster on at the start of this tutorial. I recently moved house and I'm upcycling and doing a lot of work. It's a fixer-upper. It's an old house belonging to a beautiful old lady. And my nails, my hands, I've had to cut my nails right back. I have war wounds everywhere. I have the worst hands on the internet for tutorials. There's nothing I can do about it for now. But yeah, I hit my finger with a hammer and it's not very pleasant to look at. So apologies. Forgot to put my plaster on. Yeah, and I really don't want to make the tutorial again. Now I'm just going to leave that to dry. Just leave it to cure overnight, 24 hours. 48 hours roughly, I would say it takes for it to completely cure. And then what happens is it just tightens in. Everything smoothens out. It's lovely. Whatever happens, it's brilliant. I'll swear by that varnish. So is there anything else? I'll get me a little bag of tricks just to show you the scale. Like if you're doing a shop, you know, you could have your plants in it, or just, this is a plate, a 1/12 scale plate. So I'm just giving you an example of the size of it. Sometimes it's hard to make out on a video the actual size of something. What's this? Oh, there's a saucer and a cup. It's just giving you an idea of the size. But like that, if it's still too big for what you want, make it smaller. The only thing, if you're making it smaller, you might have to do less layers. You maybe do 4 instead of 5, or 3 instead of, you know, depending on how small you go. How small your machine will cut as well. You have to bear all that into mind. But as I said at the very start of this tutorial, make sure you grab every single piece that's on the page and size it up and down. My dog is outside looking to go in. I have to lock him out of my studio because he's a noisy little bugger. Now, so that's it. I hope that has been informative. And for now, I'm going to say slán go fóill.